I finally watched Volume 2 of Stranger Things, and honestly, a lot of it didn't work for me. And that's disappointing because Volume 1 ended on such a strong note. So I want to talk about what went wrong and also what did work, because it's not all bad. First, one thing that really pulled me out was the plot armor. There's a scene where demo dogs are chasing Max, and Lucas tries to save her, and he literally kicks one in the head, and they escape in an elevator. But earlier, those same creatures brutally killed trained military people, armed, experienced, fully equipped. And then there's the Nancy and Jonathan scene. They're trapped in a room where everything is melting, and suddenly the melting just stops. The dark energy above is still active, but the room conveniently solidifies long enough for them to survive. They still need to be rescued, but it felt like the danger just paused. It started to feel like the story bending to protect characters. There's also another moment where Nancy easily shoots multiple military people like it's nothing. These are trained soldiers, people who've been trained for years, and here we have a teenage girl taking them down with ease. At that point, military is just a joke in Stranger Things. And I'm not saying regular characters can't fight back. Hopper shooting people makes sense. He's a police officer. He has training. But with Nancy, it just felt like convenience, like the story needed her to win. Second, expectations. Volume 1 ended with one of the best episodes the show has had in years. So expectations for Volume 2 were insanely high. And the problem is, Volume 2 is mostly buildup. It's all about setting pieces in place for the finale, but very little actually happens in these episodes. So instead of feeling rewarded, it felt like we were waiting and waiting and waiting. Third, Netflix's greed. Netflix clearly wants to milk the final season. If they had released the final episode along with Volume 2, the way they handled Season 4, I don't think people would be complaining this much. Even one strong, impactful scene could have carried the volume. In earlier seasons, when a problem appears, the group gathers, talks it out, and finds a solution. That's always been part of Stranger Things. But here, because there's no strong ending, you start noticing how quickly problems get solved, sometimes within a minute of group discussion. Without a payoff, the formula becomes obvious. Fourth, no big reveal. This was probably the biggest letdown for me. Yes, we get the abyss, the wormhole, but what I really wanted was character depth, especially with Henry. We don't really learn his true motivations. Why is he doing this? What does he actually want? There's that scene where Max and Holly go into Henry's memories. We see young Henry kill someone, supposedly in self-defense, and then he opens a briefcase, and they just don't show us what's inside. That would have been the perfect moment to discuss about Volume 2. Something strong, something revealing. Instead, it cuts away. Fifth, Collie's portrayal. I also don't understand what the Duffer Brothers are trying to do with Collie. It feels like they want us to dislike her. Almost every line she has is followed by Hopper reacting, which subtly tells the audience, yeah, you're not supposed to trust her. She's framed as someone who's going to do something terrible in the finale, and instead of intrigue, it just creates annoyance. To be fair, Volume 2 isn't all bad. It did have strong moments. The reveal about the abyss is genuinely interesting. Max and Holly's performances during the escape from Henry's mind were excellent, probably the emotional high point of the volume. And Nancy and Jonathan's scene, I still don't know if it's a breakup or a proposal, but the scene was great. And Will's speech at end, it was emotional and a great scene. And the Steve and Dustin reunion, that worked. It reminded me why people love these characters. Volume 2 isn't terrible. It's just stretched and missing a punch. When you compare it to finales like Game of Thrones, you can see the same risk forming. Too much buildup and not enough payoff. I really hope the final episode proves all of this wrong, because Stranger Things deserves to go out strong.